Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to your weekly pre-arrival webinar. We've got four of us here from NBCC on three different campuses. So welcome to Tech and Money. I'll quickly introduce everyone. Just a reminder, I'm back from vacation. If you've forgotten, my name's Claire, Claire Kelly. I'm the International Immigration Advisor, and I'm here in Moncton with Joni Simon.
Hi.
So Joni, you're the computer systems technician? Yes? Awesome. So we're gonna be talking tech with Joni. And then of course we've got Hanny Kamel over there in Fredericton,
Hi, guys.
International Affairs Coordinator. And then we've got Brittany Locking, recruitment advisor in St. Andrews. And Brittany, you'll be helping us out with money matters issues? Yes?
I will.
Awesome. So I think as people may remember from our format before with multiple guests, we're going to take 15 to 20 minutes on one topic. So we're going to start with tech, 15 to 20 minutes on money, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers from all the students and maybe some staff listening today. So feel free to write your questions in the questions box on the side, and we'll get to them at the end of the session. So we're going to start with tech. So I'm going to share my screen here. And, oh, Hanny, I think you switched.
Yep.
Can you give me permission to share my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So can you see the screen now? Yes?
Yep, I can.
We sure can.
All right. So do you see pre-arrival webinar, Tech with Joni? Yes?
Yep.
All right. So a few things. I'll go over what we're going to cover, and then I'll hand it over to Joni. So we're going to cover bringing your own computer, buying a new computer in Canada, and some general reminders. So Joni, you've got the screen there, so
Yes.
go for it.
Okay, everyone. I don't think I can.
Oh, see yourself? Do you want to? Okay, yeah.
Oh.
There you go. There you are.
Hi, everyone. I compiled this list with a bunch of my colleagues to help minimize the wait times. So if you follow through with me on these suggestions that we came up with, it might help you not to be standing for hours and hours in the lineups, right? So, okay, let's start. So if you are bringing your own laptop from your country, you may need to have a voltage adapter. And in the link on the tip number 1, there's a link there that will show you a picture of different voltage adapters and cables. So just keep in mind that when you come here, Canada runs on 110 volts. So you will need a converter or something to plug into our outlets in Canada. If you are bringing your own laptop, you are going to have to change the operating system to English. This is better to help us help you. I've worked on laptops in Korean and Russian and all kinds of different languages, and we've managed to help students through their issues, but it just makes it a lot easier for us if you come prepared and that your operating system is already in English, okay? Okay, so time zones. When you come to Canada, you're going to have to change your time zone on your laptop to Atlantic Time Canada. And the reason for this is because if you do not change your time zone, then you will not be able to connect to our wireless and you will not be able to print. So please make sure you change your time zone to Canada. Tip number 4. Okay, so this was confusing to at least one student last year, that A Mac is not a PC.
I think we've actually, so we changed, yeah, so remember bringing your own computer.
I'm reading from the wrong
That's okay. We had all these in a long list and then we divided them up. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Thank you
No worries.
thank you for that. Okay, so also, in addition to setting your operating system language to English, you are also going to have to change your internet browsers to English. And I've gone through, like myself this morning, to find out where you can go to change the language in Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox. It's not hard to find. So if you just go into like options, you'll usually find something labeled language. And if you change your language to English, it's going to be helpful for you because students sometimes have issues getting into SIMS. SIMS is your Student Information Management System. And if you do not change it to English, you will get an error when you're logging into SIMS, okay? So please change your internet browsers to English.
Yeah, and just a tip on this, as some people know from the webinars, like I lived in Japan for 2 years, and I had to change all my computing stuff to Japanese, and it was a bit overwhelming, a bit like nerve-wracking, but it really helped me, get more familiar with the language. Like, so seeing a few different, seeing those characters, seeing the Japanese, helped me in my everyday life outside of my computer. So it's helpful to get used to using English every day. So
Yep. And please make sure that your copy of Windows is valid, that it is not a pirated copy. You need this in order to get all your Windows updates. If you have a pirated version of Windows, you will not be able to get your Windows updates. So that's another important thing. I'm not sure if it'll prevent you from installing some software either, but anyway, please have a valid copy of Windows. Number 6, so this isn't necessary, but if you have time before you come and you have a recovery partition on your hard drive, you can do like a full reset of your laptop. And all it does is it resets everything back to factory defaults as if you were opening up your laptop for the first time. So, but back up your data before you do that, right? Yes, back up. Very, very important. So, I've worked with a lot of laptops that they come in onto my desk and they have viruses and stuff like that. And sometimes I don't know that it has a virus, and I'm troubleshooting, trying to get, this installed or that. And it turns out that some of these laptops have viruses on them. So if you don't know how to refresh your PC, maybe just run a virus scan on it before you come, so that it just makes things easier for us, and it'll also minimize the time that I need to troubleshoot issues, right? So yes, please, if you have time, refresh your PC. And it also says, please keep in mind the necessary changes in step 2 and 3, meaning use English for your operating system language and your internet browsers as well, and your time zones, right? Time zone is Atlantic Time, Canada.
yeah. So these are all the reminders for if you are bringing your own computer with you from your country. So next, anything else for that one? No?
No.
Good? Okay.
Yep.
So this is the next one is if you are planning on buying a new computer in Canada.
Okay, so if you don't have a laptop, or if your laptop doesn't meet specifications right now, I would suggest waiting to buy a laptop until you get to Canada. And the reason for that is that if your laptop has some manufacturer's defects, or it crashes or whatever, it's just easier to send away for repairs when you're already here, right? You can't send your laptop to repairs, back home in your country. It's easier if you buy it in Canada, if you plan on buying one. So this is the this is the one that I was going through earlier. So we had a student that confused a Mac with a PC. In our specifications, it said PC, and she thought that PC meant any computer. So she went and bought a Mac. However, not all courses require a Mac. In fact, in Moncton, there's only one course that requires a Mac. So if you are coming to Canada and you're going to buy a laptop, buy a Windows PC, unless your course requires you to buy a Mac. Now, we're not saying that you can't bring a MacBook, but if you do bring a MacBook, you're going to have to configure your boot camp. So boot camp is a software that's built into Macs. And what it does is you can resize your hard drive to however big you want. You can partition your hard drive so that you have two spaces, one for your Mac operating system and one for your Windows. Because if you bring a Mac, you will need a Windows partition on your Mac. This is because your Office will be provided to you for Windows, right? So if you are bringing a Mac, you will need to configure your boot camp and install Windows on that partition. We don't provide this service. Maybe some tech shops around town can do it for you. I've done it myself just to see how difficult it was, and it's really not that difficult. Like all I needed was like a USB key. I needed a Windows ISO or a DVD, and I just went through the instructions, and it really only took me like about an hour or two. So it's not that difficult if you can read instructions. It can be done. If not, then you will have to contact a service provider. So that's for the Mac. We've also seen a lot of Chromebooks that come to our campus. A Chromebook does not meet recommended specifications, mainly because it doesn't have enough hard drive space. I don't think it even has enough memory, if I can remember correctly. But it also, when you buy a Chromebook, it comes in this mode, and it's called S mode. And the basic of S mode is that you can only install software that Windows or Microsoft offers. You can't install like AutoCAD or Multisim or something not Windows or Microsoft related. So you can change that mode. However, when you change that mode, you can't change it back. So if you happen to have a Chromebook, you're going to have to change that S mode, okay?
If you haven't bought a computer yet, we would probably recommend not buying a Mac and not buying a Chromebook. So, yeah.
And we've provided a link for the specifications. So the link is right there. It'll tell you exactly. So a PC is not a Mac, okay? Two different computers. Okay, last one, I think. You do not need to buy Office. Microsoft Office will be provided to every student on campus. There were some students that went to neighboring stores and were told they had to buy Office, and they went and bought it. And so they spent $100 or whatever it costs when we provide it for free, okay? So do not go by Microsoft Office. You will get it when you get to campus, okay?
Awesome. That's good to know. Save $100.
Save $100.
All right, so last one before we hand it over. So buying a new computer here in Canada. So after, or sorry, sorry. The general reminders.
Yes.
Okay. So whether you're bringing your own or if you're buying a new one, these are some general reminders.
So in addition to people selling students Microsoft Office, they've also sold them antivirus softwares, which cost, I don't know what they cost, but I'm sure it's not cheap, you know? And I'll give you a rundown of a list of antivirus softwares that we've had trouble working with, okay? So if you have Bitdefender or McAfee or Norton or Kaspersky, a lot of times those softwares install firewalls on your machines. And firewalls, it just blocks everything from coming in and coming out, right? That prevents us from setting up your wireless or installing your printers because those ports are blocked, right? And then we have to figure out how to open these ports, or you have to figure out how to open these ports, and it just causes headaches, right? So if you don't have an antivirus software, you do not need to buy antivirus software. If your Windows is not pirated and it's valid, then you can install Windows updates. And as long as your Windows updates are up to date and your Windows Defender is enabled, you should be fine. And provided you're not going to websites that, you know, would give you viruses, right? So avoid buying these softwares. Next one, print credits. So when you come to campus, you are going to be given print credits at the beginning of the year and at the middle of the year. And I think it's 3,750 credits each time. One print credit does not equal one print job, okay? It doesn't mean that you have 3,750 print jobs, okay? I don't know exactly what the number is. I know my tier 1 counterparts are online somewhere. They might be able to tell you, but I think it's roughly like 7-8 credits per page. If it's a double-sided, it's probably like 15 credits. If it's in color, it's probably like 20 credits or something like that. So keep in mind that one print job does not equal one credit, okay? And if you run out of print credits, these ones are given to you for free, all right? But if you run out, you're going to have to go to the bookstore or wherever they sell these cards that you can purchase, and you can add print credits to your account, okay? So a lot of times students don't know where to go pick up paper. They always come to the help desk because they think, you know, printers, paper, you know, help desk. But really, you can get your paper from your department head. So if you know where your department head office is, that's where you can go get your paper, okay? Another thing that you can go to your department head for is your bright space. So a lot of times students go to their bright space and they open it up and they can't see their courses online. Well, naturally they think, go to the help desk, right? Well, in fact, you have to go to your department head. It's the admin assistant that's going to be adding those courses for you, okay? So just another reminder not to stand in line for long periods of time if you know these things ahead of time, okay? And the last one, we have a lot of people that have problems with passwords, okay? So there are rules when creating passwords. It has to be at least 8 characters long. It can be 10, can be 15, but at least 8, okay? One of them has to be an uppercase letter, and one of them has to be a lowercase letter. So they can't all be caps, and they can all be lowercase, okay? You have to have one of each. It has to have one number or one special character, all right? And please do not put your name in your password because that also will prevent you from getting in, because if your password contains your name, it won't let you in. If it does, I've seen students that have gotten in, like gotten on our network, but after a while it stops working. So when you're creating a password, please keep in mind that it cannot contain your name. And I say this because I've seen a lot of students standing in line for long periods of time for this. And if you were told beforehand, that's just one less thing that you're going to be standing in line for, okay?
Exactly. So yeah, so I know that there's a lot of information, like Joni has collected with other technicians, right?
Yeah.
So the most common things that they saw in line, and I know it's a lot of information for all of you out there, and there are probably a lot of terms like bright space and sims that you may not know right now. But my recommendation is to hold on to, we're going to send out this PowerPoint in our follow-up email. And I would say hold on to this document and keep it with you throughout the year, because it will be a good thing to come back to. But especially Joni's advice for bringing your own computer or buying a new one are really essential, I'd say, right now. So thank you, Joni. And we're not going to take questions quite yet. We're going to wait until after both sessions are done. So for right now, thank you for listening. Thank you, Joni. And we're going to hand it over to Henny and Brittany.
Thank you, Johnny. It was very useful information. We received questions about computers a lot, and I think it will be very useful for our students. And right now, we would like to talk about the money matters. And because as international affairs coordinator, I hear a lot from you guys about the banking, how to open banking account, and Brittany is going to share ideas about this, as she had experience in banking area and with international student. And you might say hi to Brittany if you're going to study at St. Andrews campus. So Brittany, I pass it to you.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it says pre-arrival webinar, Money Matters.
Perfect. I cannot see my screen, so just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so as Hanny introduced me, my name is Brittany. I'm the recruitment advisor here at the St. Andrews campus. And before I joined the wonderful NBCC family, I did work at the bank. St. Andrews is a little bit unique in that we only have one bank, so you'll hear me kind of talk about different options throughout the webinar. So feel free to ask me questions at the end, and I'll do my best to answer them. So today's topics, we're going to cover why I need a bank account, how to choose a bank, how to open a bank account in Canada, what documents are required to open up a bank account, and some other important information that you might find helpful. So why do I need a bank account? It's not necessary for you to open a bank account. You do not have to open one if you do not want to. But with that being said, there are a lot of students that are coming here with large amounts of money, because you do need to pay for your tuition and you do need to pay for your rent and all your utilities and your food. So a bank account is a really great, secure way to put your money away. You don't have to worry about it. It's in a safe account. And it's also really great because if you decide to get a job, your employer can do direct deposit, so they can pay you right into your bank account. You don't need to go and pick up your check and then go to the bank and deposit it or exchange the check for cash. The money already can go into your bank account. You can also get monthly statements or log in online using their app, and you can keep track of how much you're spending on a monthly basis, and that can also help you stay on budget. You'll learn a little bit more of that at ITLC. You can also pay bills online. So if you end up buying a cell phone package or you have to pay utilities because they're not included in your rental agreement, you can then pay those online as well. And it's really cool that you can also send and receive money. It's called an e-transfer. So if you and a whole bunch of friends get together and you decide that you want to get a pizza, instead of everybody chipping in $4 or $5 here or there, one person can just pay for it. And then if you owe them back, you can just send them money. It's really easy. You gotta love technology, and a lot of the Canadian institutions have that app feature. So moving on, how to choose a bank. As a student, there are a number of banks that have special banking packages that have either reduced student fees or no fees at all. With that being said, you would need to prove that you are a student, and we'll touch on that a little later. When you choose a bank, it's also really important to do your research. There's a lot of legal terminology and terms and conditions that you do want to read. That would be all the fine print, if you will, and you just want to make sure that you do your research and ask a lot of questions. A lot of banks will also offer promotions. So I'm going to talk about Scotiabank a little later on, and I'll kind of touch based on their promotions and what would benefit you as a student. So if you have any questions about that later, you can also ask me, and I'll be sharing all the links for all the various banks as well, and you can see the promotions that they currently have. Another important thing to consider is proximity to where you live in your campus. St. Andrews is a little unique in that we only have one bank. So students that are coming here are only going to pick that bank. But if you're going to Moncton, there's going to be various banks with various branches. So TD Canada is a banking institution, but they might have 3 different locations in Moncton. One might be really far away from where you live, or one might be really close. So you want to do your research and see what's best for you for when you come to book your appointment later. If you book an appointment at one bank, you can still go and visit the other branch whenever you want. It's just you want to set up whatever's convenient for you as soon as you arrive, because you want to reduce your stress. So these are some of the more popular banks in Canada. So as I mentioned, you have Scotiabank. Their student banking account is the Student Banking Advantage Plan. They have unlimited number of transactions, which means that you can have 3 transactions a month, or you can have 50 transactions a month, and they're not going to charge you additional fees. There's also $0 charge for e-transfers, and the monthly fee is $0. CIBC offers the Smart for Students plan. They also have unlimited number of transactions. They charge $1.50 per e-transfer. So that was the service that I was telling you, that if you all went in on a pizza, or you owed a friend money because you borrowed money from them and you wanted to e-transfer them money, they would charge you $1.50 per transaction. So again, you want to do your research to figure out what bank it is that you want to go to with what services that you're going to use the most often. They also charge you for teller services. So the word teller is the person at the bank. So you can use their ABM, you can use their app for completely free uses whenever you need to, or you can use your debit card. But as soon as you go up to the teller and you speak to a person face to face, they're going to charge you $1.25. So again, you want to read the fine print because those charges add up. The monthly fee to use that account is $0, but again, there are additional fees. BMO has the Plus plan. The number of transactions is 30. So as soon as you go over 30, say you've done 31 transactions or 32 transactions, they charge you an additional $1 per transaction, which again adds up. RBC Royal Bank has the student banking account. Their number of transactions is 25, and again, they charge $1 per additional transaction. TD is the everyday checking account. They also have a limited transaction of 25 per month, and they charge an additional $1.25 per transaction. You'll notice there that none of them have, other than CIBC, they don't have any notes on there about e-transfers, and that's because those would be included. So again, to the right of the screen, you'll see the website links. When I send it a PDF a little later on, you can actually click on the hyperlink and it will take you right to those screens so that you can do your own research. So how to open up a bank account. There are 3 different options for you to open up a bank account. You can do it in person, you can do it over the phone, and you can do it online. It's really important to make sure that you understand what it is that you're going in for, because by appointments, you need to be in there for a certain amount of time because they have to ask you questions, they have to input everything into the database, and you're not the only person trying to open up an account that day. So the earlier you can book an appointment, the better, because sometimes they book a week to 2 in advance because they only have so many people working on a daily basis. So again, if you're going to do it in person, you can do it at the bank by appointment only. You can do it over the phone, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later, and you can do it online as well. With the over the phone and the online option, you still do need to go into the bank to provide them verification ID so that you can actually access your account. So this is a screenshot of what the Scotiabank site looks like. So when you go into the Scotiabank, you can type in scotiabank.com and it's going to show you a screen similar to this. So at the top, you have your checkings and savings, you have your credit cards, mortgages, and all the other services that they provide. When you highlight over checkings and savings, down near the bottom, it says student plans, and that's where you're going to want to click. you want the Student Banking Advantage Plan. And this is what it would look like. So you see that they have special offers. You can sign up today and get 5,000 Scene or Scotia Rewards points. This is one of those promotions that I was telling you about. Scotiabank offers what they call as Scotia Rewards or Scene. So those are certain points that you can gather based off other transactions that you make with your debit card that then go into this little pool. Once you have enough points, you can then use it to purchase dinner, movie tickets, sometimes sports equipment. So again, you really want to read the fine print and see what various banks are offering promotions, because you can get some free stuff, which is really cool because everybody likes free stuff. At the bottom of the screen here, you'll see that the monthly fee is $0, and then there's this handy dandy little button here that says Apply Now. If you wanted to do the online application process, you would click Apply Now and follow the steps as it prompts you. So opening a bank account in person. Once you have figured out which banking institution it is that you want to go to and which branch it is that you want to go to, you would go online to their Contact Us page and book an appointment. You can do this by either calling them, or sometimes they will have an online bot where you can put in that you want an account to open up an account, and they'll give you an appointment time slot based off of what your needs are. Typically, to open up a new account, you're looking at about 45 minutes. Depending on the branch hours and volume of appointments, like I said, it will take about a week to 2 weeks to get an appointment, so be patient and be prepared to book it in advance. If you know that you are arriving in Moncton on the 27th, and you know, okay, well, I have ITLC on this date, and on this date I need to go here, you might want to pre-plan of when you can go to the bank and you can have everything set up, because it's going to save you a lot of stress come the time of school starting, of when you need to buy your books and getting groceries and your bus pass and everything. So the more in advance you can plan, the better. Once you've booked your appointment in person, you want to verify with the customer service representative that you're speaking with on the phone what documents you need to bring. Although I'm going to include a list here at the end of the slide, it's really important as international students that you verify what it is that you need to bring, because although Canada financial institutions have rules that are the same across the board, those are more so for what Canadians need to open up a bank account. So the rules might vary a little bit based off you being a student and you being an international. So again, when you want to open a bank account in person, you need to call the number to book an appointment. You're probably going to be waiting a week or two to get in, and then you want to verify what documents you need to bring to that appointment. Opening a bank account over the phone. This is a two-step process. So once you've figured out which bank it is that you want to go to, you're going to call their 1-800 number, and it essentially goes into a call center. You're going to tell them that you want to open up a new bank account, and they're going to do that process for you, similar to the information that you would fill out on your own online. Once all that information has been put in, you still need to book an appointment to go into the bank to verify your documents. They want to see you in person, they want to look at your documents, and once they have completed that process, then you have access to your bank account. And again, depending on the branch hours and the volume of appointments, you might be waiting a week or two. You're going to hear me say that often, and I really can't stress it enough, because at Canadian banks, they don't accept walk-ins. So I just don't want anybody to be disappointed or left stranded without money. The third option is opening a bank account online. Everybody's pretty tech savvy nowadays, so this one is super easy to do. So again, once you've decided which bank it is that you want to go to, you can visit the hyperlinks that I provided you at the end of this slide, and you can go through the steps. It's going to ask general information, your name, your date of birth, your contact information, and it's going to want a home address, and I'll talk about that a little later. At the end of completing all the online parts, it's then going to give you a 1-800 number to call so that you can book an appointment to go into the bank to give your documents. You're going to want to call that number as soon as possible because, again, you want to book your appointment. All right, so what documents are required to open up a bank account? Well, there's an extra step here because you're applying for a student bank account, so you need proof that you're a student. So this would be your LOA or letter of admissions. So for most of you, it's a 4-page document that says who you are, that you're coming to NBCC and what you're taking. So you would bring that in with you, as well as ID. So there are 3 different combinations of ID that you can use. All of them must be originals. They will not accept photocopies at all. So typically they would accept passports, birth certificates, driver's licenses, depending on where it's from. So again, there is a hyperlink here of what they accept, and I'll make sure that I include that with you. But when you do call to either book your appointment in person or complete the steps of online, again, please ask the salesperson representative of what documents you need to include, and they might even email it to you too. Again, so some examples of ID here are your social insurance number, which is commonly referred to as your SIN. I believe Claire and Haney talked about this on the Entry to Canada webinar, that if there's enough time between your layovers, you can apply for a SIN at the airport. So if you have your SIN, great, you can use that as a part of ID. If you don't have it, that's okay too, because there are plenty of other options that you can use, such as your passport, your birth certificate. As I mentioned before, you need your proof of address. So if you have a utility bill or a lease agreement, essentially the banks are looking to see that you are who you say you are and that you're living where you say you're living. It's not because they're wanting to make sure, okay, well, we're the closest bank to where they live and that's why they're here. It's more so just to link your name, your face, all together and just complete the entire profile. As again, I have mentioned multiple times, it's important to verify when you're booking the appointment of what documents you need. Students with GICs. Students with GICs, yes, you still need to open up a bank account. And when I was working in the bank, I heard this often and there was a lot of confusion about it. Your GIC account is a secure account where money funds are being held. Just because you have that account does not mean that you get access to it. You still need to open up a student banking account, which is very, very important. The GIC typically will give you a monthly allowance that it then takes the money from the GIC and disperses it into a bank account. That's why you need that student account for that money to be dispersed into, or else you won't have access to it. I hope that makes sense. Other money matters to consider. You want to make sure that you have cash on hand, either Canadian or US. And I believe Hanny and Claire also talked about this as well in the Entry to Canada webinar. You can enter Canada with cash on you so long as you declare it, you're fine. If you brought in US dollars into Canada, you can exchange it at banks without having a bank account with that financial institution. So if I bank with Scotiabank, for example, but there's no Scotiabank around me, I can walk into a TD and I can exchange US dollars for Canadian dollars under 500 without having a bank account with them. You do still need to provide ID, so they will ask you for that, so don't be shocked. You do need to have those documents on you. But as long as it's under $500 Canadian, you can do the exchange there at the bank without having a bank account. Another reason that you want to have cash on hand is because you also want to budget for unexpected expenses when you travel. So for those that don't have shuttle services, you want to be able to have money to pay for a taxi, if you're hungry at the airport, if you have to tip for anything. Tipping is a Canadian custom here. It's not mandatory. But as nice Canadians, we like to thank people for their services. And sometimes that's when you need cash on you. So don't be shocked if you see something, if you go out to a restaurant and there's a spot that says tip. It's kind of standard, but those are all things to keep in mind when you're creating a budget for yourself. Budgets will also be covered in ITLC. If you can't go to the ITLC, we will be doing the lunch and learns as well. So we'll cover that then, don't worry. Taxes. Taxes are a bit of a surprise for some students. Taxes are additional fees that the government charges on goods and services. So my example there is if you went to go purchase a SIM card once you get to Canada, say it's $20. If that sticker price says $20, that's not the final price that you are going to be paying. There's tax on that. In New Brunswick, the tax is 15%. So you times 15% by the sale price, and that gives you your total cost. So for example, a $20 SIM card plus tax would be $23. That would be the price that you would pay. So again, it just comes down to budgeting and making sure that you have cash on hand for your first couple of days here before you get your bank account set up. And as always, don't be afraid to ask questions. The more questions you ask, the better, because then you are going to be very well knowledgeable in what it is that you're purchasing. Although you're not paying for a bank account package, it's still a service that you are getting from a bank or from a vendor. And so you want to make sure that you understand all the terms. You want to understand the relationship of what they're providing you and what you're receiving. So it's really important to ask as many questions as possible, and don't be afraid to ask us too. We've all been there. We've all had to go in and set up accounts too. So by all means, let us know. And I think that's it from me. Awesome.
Thank
Hey,
you. It was
Claire.
great
Thank
information.
you.
Great information. Yeah, we're back.
Good job, Brittany.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Um, I think we're ready to jump into our question section. And guys, if you have questions, please ask your question now under question section. And the first question, good morning. Good morning to you as
Morning.
well.
Morning.
So a second question, I guess, goes to Claire. Do you want to read it, Claire?
So, can you give me advice because I'm still waiting for my student visa approval for September intake and classes are approaching, so is it possible to move to January intake for culinary arts management program Moncton campus? So this is actually a shared question between Hanny
Yep.
and I. So I'll take
Yes.
the first part. So the first part is if you are still waiting for your visa to be approved, and a lot of students out there are still waiting, so you're not the only one, Teresa. So one thing I would do is go and look at IRCC processing times. Maybe Hanny, you can, or we'll include the link there, but check IRCC processing times for a study permit from your country and see how many weeks it's taking, and it usually says what date they are currently working on, which applications they're currently working on. So you should look at your application, see, if it lines up, if it's still within the time of like the regular processing time. If it's for some reason a lot, like if it should have been done 2 weeks ago, you should definitely contact IRCC. But if it's still within the regular processing time, all I can say is please be patient, and hopefully you get that your visa and study permit before September. So all I can do is please be patient. When it comes to transferring to the next intake, I'll hand that over to Hanny.
Yep. Thank you, Claire. I'll already provide the link for processing time so you can check and see how long does it take to get your study permit. In terms of transfer and application, unfortunately, this program is not available for January intake, and currently I'm just checking the seats availability for January intake, and we have only civil technician civil technician program in Moncton for January 2020, and we have bricklaying program in Woodstock for January 2020, and we have business administration accounting for April 2020. So unfortunately, this program is not available. So, but my best advice for you would be just register for the program because you might get your visa in time. And in case in case you did not get your visa or get refusal, you can always defer your application for the fall 2020. It's going to be my best advice for you, but fingers crossed you're gonna get your study permit on time and just register for the program. And yep, that is the options you have. Register for the program and wait until your study permit until final decision from immigration, and let us know, and we will get, and we're gonna work from that. Yep, and you can message us on Facebook international page if you have more questions when your study permit going to be ready, so we can provide you more information on that. Yep.
So the next question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'll just provide the link because I'm not sure if we can answer all the questions during this session, but if you have more questions, just reach us to Facebook page and we'll talk there. Okay.
Yeah. So the next question I think is for Joni. Do we need to bring a laptop for the culinary arts management program? And you wanted to show us a website, didn't you? So I'm going to share my screen for a moment because this is really helpful for any program that you're in. Can everyone see the website we're on right now? We'll provide. Oh no, not yet. Can you see it? Wait.
I changed presenter to Claire, so you know I share it.
Thanks, Annie. I'm clicking. Oh, I don't know why. So I'm clicking the. Oh, there we go. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we've got here the NBCC live program. We'll include this link. So Joni, you were saying that this is where you can
find all the list of live programs. If you click on that link on the bottom, what
here.
programs are live programs, it'll give you a complete list of all the courses that require a laptop.
So these are the ones that are essential for having a laptop. And it was culinary management,
Yes.
which is not there. So it's not essential. I mean, of course, you know, a laptop is like, we're a pretty plugged in society these days. So a laptop is kind of, you know, essential for everyday, you know, emailing and such. But we do have computer labs, correct?
Yes, there's computer labs throughout the building.
Yeah. So see, it's not necessary for your program because it's not a requirement to have a laptop for culinary management. So you don't need to bring a personal laptop, and you could just access our labs. So I hope that answers your questions. And anyone else, we'll provide this listing and I'll include it in the follow-up email too. But I hope that helps.
Thanks.
Okay. No.
I think there another question is for Johnny. Do I still need a voltage adapter if the label on my laptop's power adapter indicates 110 from 110 to 240 volts, I assume?
I don't believe you're going to need one because if it's already 110 volt, you should be fine.
Okay,
Okay.
thank
Awesome.
you. I think this question is for me. Is there any additional charges if I will move my September intake to January intake for culinary arts? As I mentioned before, the culinary arts is not available for January intake, but there is no additional cost associated with deferral of your program. As I mentioned before, just wait until the final notice from immigration and send our admission office a request to international at NBCC that you would like to defer your program. And please know that deferral does not mean that you're going to be automatically accepted to this program, because we still need to verify seats availability. And yep, that's how it works. There is no additional cost for that. I hope you find this information helpful. Miss Claire, do we require to buy books for culinary arts management program?
So I will ask Miss Brittany and Mr. Hanny to maybe help me out. Do we know where that would we be able to find that on the culinary arts page, I guess?
We wouldn't yet, because we're constantly looking to update the books when the book publishers update them as well. So each campus has the new list. Your bookstores actually would have just got their books in. So all the instructors would have the list, but for the first day of school, you are not required to have your books. It's great if you already have them before classes start, because you probably avoided some pretty large lineups, but it's not required for the very first day. So when you go into the class on the first day, you're typically going to do orientation with your class, you're going to do a meet and greet, and your instructors are going to give you your textbook list then. But if you did want to go in before the first day of class, you could actually tell the people at the bookstore what program it is that you're going for, and they would have a copy of the list there for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question, it's more technical from our colleague. It's not a question, it's something that I might, yeah.
So this is so Joni was talking about print credits, and so one of her technician colleagues shared with us that for one black and white print it's 10 credits, for two sides it's 15 credits, for a plotter it's 50 credits. And I was like, Joni, what's a plotter?
It's a very big printer and it prints like large scale print jobs for like
banners
for
or
like civil engineering,
oh,
when they're
okay.
printing out blueprints and stuff like that.
Okay. And then if you're wanting to do this in color, one side is 25 credits, two sides 40 credits in color, and then a big plotter is 100 credits. So just to give you an idea of what those print credits are worth.
And when you're printing, make sure that you're selecting color or not color, because it's going to charge you accordingly. And I've had many students come to my office saying, all my print credits are gone. because they were printing in color.
Oh, and they didn't need to be.
And they
Yeah.
didn't
Okay.
need to.
Okay. So good thing to remember.
I see another question, and I believe it's for Johnny. If my laptop already has Microsoft Office installed, can I opt not to install the campus version? Does the license of the campus Microsoft Office only allow me to use the software for the duration of my study program? And can I still use the program after the college?
Your Office, Microsoft Office, is going to be yours forever. So the reason why I think we provide the Office is that so the instructors can all teach students with the same Office
Package. Yeah.
package, right? Or so if an instructor is standing in front of the class and let's say everybody has Office 365 and student over here has Office 2016 or 2013, you're not going to see the same types of pages. So I think the reason why we provide the software is so that everybody is on the same page, basically.
So if
Thank
they already
you.
have it installed, yeah.
It's your choice to use your own.
Yeah.
However, you're not going to be following along with the class exactly, as the instructor wants. So
it might be the same one that we use here, but if not, maybe it's better to get on the same page. So,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. Thank you. Another question. Hello, I applied for visa. Is there any chance I can defer to January intake? There is only 2 programs are currently available for January intake, and our admission office can only defer your application if you got your study permit refused. So I would advise you to check what is available at January by the link that I provide for you, and hope you can get your study permit soon enough. If it's not, you would need to contact our admission office, and you can check the link and seats availability for April and January. And okay, I hope this would be helpful. When can we expect to receive confirmation for ITLC seat? Thank you. Currently, you need to apply for ITLC program. I just want to remind the students that ITLC is orientation for international students, and happens on August 29th. And some of the programs are already full. For example,
St. John and Moncton are both
yes,
full.
Moncton and St. John are full, and otherwise I will provide you a link where you can register, and our staff will get back to you with.
Yeah, I believe you receive a confirmation as soon as you registered.
Yep.
It's automatic because it's all online. But as I said, if unfortunately, Edgar, if you were applying to Moncton or St. John, those are both full. So, but one good thing is that if you're unable to attend ITLC on the 29th, each campus will be having lunch and learns, which are all the same sessions, just spread over 4 or 5 weeks during your lunchtime to get the exact same information. Yeah.
Yep. Another question. I think I can share my expertise on this. What if we don't have any proof of an address? Like I'm coming on August 19th and my appointment on 20th. Meanwhile, I will stay with Airbnb. That's what I did. I just provide the Airbnb address where I'm going to stay, and you should be fine. Yep. Is there anything you would like to add, Claire, on this?
Oh, I was going to say maybe then well, again, I think Brittany is the expert here if we're talking bank. I was going to say maybe delay your appointment until you've got a bit of, until you've signed a lease agreement. But Brittany, what's your 2 cents?
For a banking perspective, they want to hear more than just verbal of where you're living. They actually do want to see proof. Because the way that the banking system works is anything that goes into the bank gets uploaded to your file. It's the same as when you apply to NBCC. Anything that you send to us essentially gets added to your profile. And so by you just saying verbally, this is where I'm staying, unfortunately, it wouldn't be enough from a banking point of view. But if you do have something, like I said, if you go to Bell and you have to buy a new phone that's compatible with our systems here, they're going to put an address on there, and you can easily go and use that.
Right. That's something you could do pretty fast, like even faster than getting an apartment. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this question is in regards to entry to Canada. Maybe it's, you know, immigration related question.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that's different. So yes, entry
Yeah.
to Canada, as we talked about 3 weeks ago, um, entry to Canada, all you need is Airbnb. But
Yep.
for the bank, you might need a more permanent address. Yeah. That
Yep.
answer that. Yeah. Clarify the difference. So
Yeah.
the Airbnb is fine for the border, but something more permanent for a bank. Yeah. So that's why
Okay.
it's important to have some cash and some credit card like before you come here, before you're able to set up a bank account.
I think next questions goes to Brittany. Can I still open a saving account as an international student? I would like to get some interest on money I'd keep in Canada bank account. Thanks.
You absolutely can. The bank accounts that I highlighted today were specific for banking accounts that would be free. If you wanted to have a savings account as a student, you definitely could do that. However, there probably is going to be a monthly fee associated with that. So although I didn't highlight it today, your bank would definitely be able to give you information on that. You can have multiple accounts with banks. You could have one account or you could have 5 different accounts. It's totally up to you and however you want to use them. But anything over and above your one student account with that one financial institution, you will have monthly charges.
Okay. Another question that's related to Claire. RCC has not responded and no updates is been seen on my portal. So
again, Jill, I would recommend that you go back to IRCC processing time and check whether or not your application is still in the normal time of processing. If it's still within the time that they estimated, like 5 weeks or 6 weeks, and it's still within that time, then unfortunately it is normal to maybe not hear anything yet. But if it's past that time, then you should try to contact IRCC. So
okay.
yeah, so again, it's either patience or contacting, but it's probably still within the normal processing time. You know, this is that final crunch week or final 2-3 weeks where all the IRCC offices are working as fast as they can to process those final study permits. So we're hoping for you, we're cheering for you that you get your study permit and visa.
Okay. Another question for you, Claire, again. Good morning. I've arrived in St. John on August 4th, but I did not receive the work permit from the border officer. Please advise, what should I do now? Apply for work permit? If yes, please guide me on how to apply. Many thanks.
Okay, yeah, so it's too bad that you did not get your work permit at the border. But so one thing I just want to quickly clarify is that as a student, you are like with your study permit, as soon as you start full-time classes in September, you are able to work. You're able to work 20 hours a week and 40-hour or full-time during breaks. So everyone's allowed to do that. The separate work permit is for your co-op or your internship or on-the-job training, whatever it's called for your program. That's when you need the separate work permit. And luckily, that doesn't happen until the spring. So for most courses, I think. So I don't. There might be some co-op that maybe start in January, but none of them are starting right away. So that's the good news. So one thing you can do, yes, is apply for a separate work permit. And I will be covering that in ITLC and the Lunch and Learn. So I'll give you more information at that time. But one thing to know is that won't prevent you from working a part-time job once classes start. So that's good. The work permit is just for the internship on the job training. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, good morning. My regional campus where I was accepted was Fredericton. However, the updated acceptance was in Moncton. I would like to go to Fredericton campus since I know someone living in there. In fact, I'm already in Fredericton. I had this question on our Facebook page. We would need to, if you can send us inquiry at our Facebook international page, I would need to check your student ID number, and if you're already in Fredericton, you can go and check our student success centers. They might help you. But as for now, there is no seats available at Fredericton campus. And yeah, if you can just send your student ID number, a little bit more details, I can check it. I definitely can check it for you. And maybe you would need to contact our admission teams and see if there any chance that we can transfer you. But as far as I know, there is no seats available at Fredericton campus.
We actually skipped over one question, Henny, and I see that we're at 11 o'clock. We're going to go for 5 extra minutes because I think
Yep.
we're going to get to the end of
We
these
have
questions.
only 3 questions left. Yep.
Okay. So Alan asked, by now, if I do not receive any reply for ITLC after I've registered for it, I assume there's no spot for me. So again, I thought it was an automatic like confirmation. So, but if it was St. John or Moncton, then the answer is probably there may not be a spot. But if it's the other campuses, there probably is still room. So, Henny or Brittany, any advice on that?
I would say maybe try to register again, or you didn't get
There
to.
Do we
was
know
one.
when the cutoff was for registration?
Yes.
Sorry.
I don't see the
I believe
campus.
there was a cutoff for registration. I'm just not sure of when it was.
Yeah, we do have I think a colleague or two on here from ITLC. We will, yeah, maybe we'll provide an update in our follow-up email. I'll get you an answer on that, and I'll include a couple of links and that answer in our follow-up email. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Last couple questions.
Yeah, I've got admission for IT cybersecurity in St. John campus. Congratulations. Is there any problem if my visa arrives somewhat late? So the latest date you can join your program would be September 13th.
That's
So
right.
please make sure you join our program no later than September 13th. And
Classes start September 3rd. The last day to pay tuition is September 6th. But the absolute last day to show up for classes is September 13th. Okay, so those are the 3 numbers to remember. Of course, like you'll want to arrive as soon as possible, but of course, if you don't have your visa, then you can't. So, so anytime before September 13th, that's the hard cutoff date.
Yep. But
And it's important to note that any school that you miss between the start and when you arrive is solely yours to catch up on. So if you miss 4 days of classes, you need to go to your instructors, you need to get all the information that you missed, and you need to do the catch up on your own. Unfortunately, that's something that you need to take care of. Nobody is going to be able to help you, but that's not to say that the instructors won't be there to give you notes or to give you tips on how to catch up.
great, thanks. Hi, ma'am / sir. If in case I'm not able to attend for September intake, but I already paid initial deposit for my program, is it possible to credit on next intake? It is possible. Our admission team can defer your application for the next intake, and there is no charges, and they can transfer your deposit fee for the next intake. But you would need to show proof of your study permit review. You need to show the study permit refusal letter, and in this case, our admission team can transfer your application for the next intake with no charge.
Awesome. So we got through all the questions, yeah? This is awesome. I think, Henny, maybe we're better when guests are here to keep us with the questions. What do you think?
Or maybe a lot of students already arrived to New Brunswick and they just rush in with their things. Yeah.
So, but I think we're going to credit to our guests. I think but one last thing, Joni and I wanted to share with everyone, which I'm going to include in the follow-up email. But I just want to show you first. One of our colleagues from IT can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yep. Okay. So in addition to the live program, which I think will be helpful for students, there's also this Get Started page. So this has links to activate your account, set up Wi-Fi, set up printing, download software. So that's a pretty helpful page, eh?
Very helpful page. And to change your password as well.
Yeah. So we're going to include this link in the follow-up email with everyone. I just wanted to share that with you while you were all watching. Okay. So
Thank
I
you.
think that's it from us here. Any last words from St. Andrews or Fredericton?
We're really excited to see you guys in September.
Yes.
And you can meet me on orientation Fredericton campus on August 29th. So can't wait to see you guys.
Yep, I'll be in Moncton at that ITLC, and
I'll be in St. Andrews.
You'll be in St. Andrews. But of course, we will see you next week for our final pre-arrival webinar. We're going to be talking a bit about cultural awareness, cultural integration, getting used to a new country and culture. So we'll talk about that to wrap up our whole series. So
thank you guys for the participation, and have a great day. And all international students, see you in Canada, guys. We're very excited for you coming. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.